Great to be back at Missouri Western State University. Just very, very excited to get things going.
If you're not motivated by not being the top of anything, I think you're not in the right professions. I obviously want to be at the top of the list. I want the Chiefs to be at the top of the rankings.
There's some new players on the team, which makes it exciting. It's not that same group that's been here probably the last 3-4 years. There's been a nice influx of really good football players that we look forward to seeing as things heat up here.
I know Coach Reed and his staff are delighted to be back here. They think the environment is great here in terms of what they need to get done over the next 3.5 weeks.
Welcome into the Kansas City Chiefs preseason show. Chris Roush, Mitchell Wibberall, getting you ready for game number 2 against the Washington Commanders coming up in just a little bit. Mitchell, hard to believe training camp in St. Joseph already done. They've come up here. It's done. It's over with.
It's flown by. It really did. I know it's, 4 weeks?
Give or take,
Give or take here, and once the preseason games start, you're like, okay, it's starting to wind down, but it seemed like it just flew by.
Yeah, and they've been here in St. Joseph for just about 12 years or so, 12 training camps. Andy Reid seems still pretty happy with how things have gone here on the campus of Missouri Western.
Great to finish up here. We appreciate everything Missouri Western State University does for us. They roll out the red carpet. It's a great situation here. They bend over backwards for us, whether it's taking care of the fields, and our people are involved with that too. But they take care of these fields, the food, and which is a monster project. So it's not just the football team, but it's all the interns, it's all the staff. There's a ton of people, and you got to stay on top of your game for that. The way they take care of our rooms. I mean, we're in dorms. That's the cinder block is a cinder block, but they keep it clean for you, right? They keep it clean and make sure the trash is all the little things, so we don't have to worry about all of that. And then our equipment staff, the people that get no credit, they bust their tail too. I mean, the laundry for all of us is ridiculous, and Schropp and Allen get in there and they, turn that stuff around every day. I mean, it's crazy.
I think we took a giant step as far as kind of how we do things. I mean, we have the talent. We got the guys that can go out there and make the plays. But like Coach Reed runs a tough training camp. It's just kind of what we've been known for. I think it makes us better for it. And I think guys, as we went on, understood that, and they came out with the mindset they're going to compete every single day. And I think you saw offense have good days, you saw defense have good days, and that's usually a good sign for a good football team.
Now for the game today, preseason game number 2 for the Chiefs, taking on the Commanders. This is probably the time you'll see more from the first teamers, because usually with 4 preseason games, you build up to week number 3. There's only 3 now, so is this it? Is this the last time we'll see a lot of the first team guys like Patrick Mahomes?
I think so. I mean, for the most part, years past there's always the 4 preseason games, and now, especially even with the young guys, like the cut days, you want to be able to see what they can do. So I don't think you'll see a lot of the veterans. You probably get them back into football shape, but other than that, it's probably going to be mostly the young guys. But they say, like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they want to be out there and want to get ready for the season.
We'll go somewhere first half with ones. It might be shorter than that, but I'm going to just see how things go, and then the rest of the guys will fill in. Chad Henne won't play this game like last year. We sit him and give the 2 young guys some extra time.
I'm not trying to get hit as hard as I did the first one, so I want to get out there. I want to kind of like you always want to do in the preseason. You want to move the ball down the field, kind of go through the procedure of everything, and hopefully you get at least 1 touchdown in there. I mean, our goal is to score every time we're on the field, every opportunity that Coach Reed gives me. But you want to be in and out the huddle the right way, at moving the ball and executing the offense.
So the Chiefs taking on Washington, week 2 of preseason, and while it is less preseason games this year, there's still injuries, and it's kind of hit the Chiefs this past week at training camp.
Yeah, usually you see injuries maybe the first week or 2 of training camp when everybody's getting back into football shape, but just 2 days of camp left for the Chiefs this past week. That's when the injury bug really hit. You had Chris Jones with a sore back. You had Mecole Hardman with groin spasms. You had Juju Smith-Schuster with a knee issue still.
2 receivers they
Yes.
need. Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't have those 2 guys for a preseason game. What does that mean? a chance for the younger guys, the rookies like Sky Moore, to get more opportunities here in preseason game number 2.
Obviously more reps with me in this game, so I'm interested to see how they kind of maximize that opportunity. But I mean, they've been doing it at practice. They've been making the plays at practice and doing everything the right way. And so for them to get in there and get some opportunity to run with the ones, I think it'll help us out in the long run whenever we do get those guys back to having a good group of guys that can go in at any time.
The next man has to perform. So this gives our receiver coach, Joe Blameyer, all that stuff that he's been doing in that receiver room and all the drills that he's done. Now it's time for the younger guys to step up. This is an opportunity for someone else to show that they can play, that they can perform under pressure, all right, but also maximize the opportunity. So not nervous at all. Obviously, you want guys to always stay healthy, but this gives a number of guys an opportunity to go up there and step up and show exactly what they can bring to the table.
Chiefs and Commanders coming up in just a little bit, but plenty more to go on the show, including Elijah Lee. He spent his first 2 years of high school football playing here in town at Central High School. He visited this year's football team last week. We'll have more on that coming up.
And the Chiefs adding more depth to this defensive line with veteran Danny Shelton, the big boy in the middle, arriving to Kansas City earlier this week. Welcome back to the Chiefs preseason show. Mitchell Riberall, Chris Roush, and we teased a little bit about the new defensive tackle the Chiefs had, and you know, I've seen him practice a couple times. You've seen him practice I mean, he's a big dude.
He said we teased it a little bit. Little is the last time you're going to use that word for
Yes.
Danny Shelton.
Yes.
6'2", 345 pounds. He joked when he came to the Chiefs earlier this week that last time he weighed 245 was probably middle school. He's a run stopper. He's going to plug up the holes there on the inside. He's excited to be in Kansas City because he had other options, but the Chiefs made the most sense for him.
I know he's very large. I got a chance to talk with him a little bit. I like him. I mean, I like the personality and how excited he is about being here. We'll see what happens. I mean, we got a little ways to go. They have that acclimation period, so he hasn't really done much from the standpoint of being out there against the offense. But we'll see where time takes us.
I say 4 down, you have a little more fun. 3 down, that's a little more gritty, and that's me. You know, I grew up the hard-nosed football. You know, no gloves and just, you know, smashing somebody in the face. And so I personally like 3 down. You know, one-on-one, bring on a double team, bring on a triple team, do my best to push the pocket.
6'2", 345. I know I've said it a lot, but that's a very large man in the middle, being a run stopper. You have him next to Chris Jones. You have Frank Clark out there. I mean, Carlos Dunlap. I mean, you have a lot of veterans on this team now. It's going to be exciting to see how all these pieces fit into the puzzle, but we still have got more to get to.
Yeah, don't go anywhere because when we return, we have more on Elijah Lee, Harrison Butker, more on this week's game. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Chris Roush, Mitchell Riberall with you for the next few minutes, getting you ready for this preseason game. And Mitchell, you look at what this Chiefs team is at this point. A lot of questions, a lot of expectations.
Yes.
But it's an interesting year for the Chiefs. I don't want to say that people are expecting a lot less from them, and they're certainly not underdogs, but there's a weird feeling about what to expect from this year's team.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, you hear from fans, other media, it's like a big question mark. Obviously, we've talked about it all summer. We talked about it last week. Tyreek Hill gone. That's a big question mark. And now that the injury bug already has hit this early in training camp, can the receivers stay healthy? And that, I think that's kind of the biggest question mark. But we've seen what Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce can do. Now we just kind of have to see how everyone else fits around them.
Yeah, I think you talk about the injuries. Juju Smith-Schuster, when they signed him, maybe he flew under the radar because he's been a big-time receiver in the league, but injuries have kind of plagued him in the past. He's a guy that if he's healthy, he can perform. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, another guy with Aaron Rodgers the last several years, he's been good. But I want to see what Mecole Hardman does too this year. I mean, yeah, he's dealing with a groin injury right now. He's got to take a big step, and I think he's embraced that here in training camp, that he's not Tyreek Hill, but he's still really fast. Wouldn't be surprised if he's got some jet sweep stuff there and some plays that Tyreek Hill did, but that's a guy right there that I think the Chiefs need to see a lot from.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Mecole's, he's kind of been behind Tyreek and Travis Kelce, so it's like, what can he do? But he's talked about it all offseason, what he wants to be able to do. And like you mentioned, MVS, Juju, they've played with top-tier quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be that big of an adjustment to Patrick Mahomes throwing you the ball. And especially at training camp, we've seen a lot of the deep balls. They're just barely missing. Like, you can tell they're still getting that chemistry there. And once they do, this offense, a lot of weapons, could be very dangerous to a lot of defenses.
One part of the team we haven't touched on much at all, but I think this may be the surprise, is how good the offensive line will be.
Yeah.
Orlando Brown's here. Yeah, he's playing on the franchise tag. Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey.
Creed Humphrey is a
You
dude.
don't move Creed Humphrey.
No, I'm sure you've seen the one-on-one drills, and if you haven't seen it at training camp, there's a lot of clips of Creed Humphrey standing his ground against Derek Nottie, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, all those guys, and it's very impressive. And Chris Jones even mentioned that Humphrey should have been an All-Pro last year.
Oh, yeah, and then you have Trey Smith, right guard. Right tackle's where we're going to see
the
what's going to
question
happen.
mark, yeah.
But real quick, this game right here, game number 2 of the preseason, what are you looking forward to most?
I still want to see how those rookies do. Sky Moore, we've talked about wide receiver room, impressive camp, but also the DBs. We know how last year was, so I want to see Trent McDuffie continue to take that step. Joshua Williams, Brian Cook, coach calls them Fab Five, so I want to see those guys. Yeah, that's high expectations, so I want to see them show that they earned that nickname.
Well, we'll find out pretty soon here. The Chiefs and Washington coming up here. Preseason game number 2. Don't go anywhere. Still plenty more on the Chiefs preseason show.
Welcome back to Chiefs preseason show. Mr. Riverall, Chris Roush. We've talked about a lot of players on this team, but one particularly has some ties to St. Joseph.
Yeah, and we talked about on shows before too, Elijah Lee and his connection. He was kind of a spokesperson for Mosaic Life Care and the Bartlett Center this training camp, because the Bartlett Center meant a lot to him growing up. He's also been around football here in St. Joseph too. He moved to Kansas City down there for his last 2 years of high school football, and look, went to Kansas State. He's been a pro for 6 years now. Hard to believe he's been in the league for that long at this point. But his first 2 years of high school football, Central High School. So what'd he do? During training camp this year, he went and visited his old high school.
He was in our shoes. He practiced on the same field right here, so this kind of gives us hope that if we work hard enough, we can make it to the next level.
Throughout the Kansas City Chiefs' stay in St. Joseph for training camp, Elijah Lee made sure to make his presence felt. Not just on the practice field, though.
Mindset can get you anywhere. If you have no mindset, no motivation, that could keep you down in the dumps.
Lee visited the Bartlett Center, a place close to his heart, and also took a trip back to his old stomping ground at Central High School.
A lot of these kids were yay high whenever the last time I seen them, so it's fun to see them all growing up, and now they're out here running around.
Although he didn't graduate from Central, Lee spent his first 2 high school years roaming the halls and practicing on this same field, so it holds a special place in his heart.
It's not all about football. It's about life. It's about just being successful. And you start by being successful by taking care of what you need to in high school, in the classroom, and on the field, and whatever sports you may play.
The message I kind of took away is we got to buy in. All of us have to have the same mentality on the field, off the field, in the school. We got to get all our work done in all aspects of our life.
Lee spent a few minutes talking to Central's football team during fall practice, which might not seem like a lot of time, but it can make a world of difference to these guys when they know there's someone who has their back.
It motivated me. Doing where he came from, where I came from, and the place where he's at now, it just motivates me to grind. I hope it motivated my team, just seeing him even coming back.
Just having that mindset that you're going to have, that you're going to be successful. There's a lot of things that we talk about within that, but having someone else speak it, sometimes they hear it a little bit better.
Lee is a pro, so he's not always able to get back home. But when he does, Lee wants to do as much as he can, and it's evident by what he did this summer.
At the end of the day, like my grandmother says, is they're going to be future decision makers, so why not influence them and give them the right platforms to do the right things.
We haven't talked a lot about the specialists this preseason yet, but, Harrison Butker, he's been pretty reliable for the Chiefs over the last few years, kind of breaking onto the scene after being signed away from the Carolina practice squad a few years ago. He talked a lot this training camp about trying to improve his accuracy. He's got a strong leg. We know that.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
Time and time again.
He's able to make field goals, but sometimes they're slightly off. And that's something he's really kind of embraced, is trying to improve on that too.
Yeah, do you think Justin Reed kind of putting some pressure on him? I don't know. I don't think so, but that is one thing. If he can get the accuracy down, the floor is open for the special teams.
And you may not think about it, but kickers watch a lot of film too. In fact, he's been watching one of the greats in the NFL, Justin Tucker, and that's how Butker's getting better too.
I want my foot to be perpendicular with the ball. If it's not perpendicular with the ball's not going to be going end over end, and so it's just not going to go as far, right? So that's kind of what I mean is being efficient. One way you achieve that is having your foot perpendicular to the ball, and then after contact is your foot following the ball. And I think I have an issue of my foot makes contact with the ball, and then very early on my foot's going off left.
Don't go anywhere. We'll wrap things up here on the Chiefs preseason show. We'll talk about someone Missouri Western fans are familiar with, right?
Yes, there's a corner, another young DB that's kind of battling for a roster spot.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge week for Brandon Dandridge. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Chiefs preseason show, and we've talked a lot. We've seen a lot.
We've talked a lot.
We've talked a lot, yes. But one guy that we haven't mentioned as much is Brandon Dandridge.
Yes.
He's corner from Missouri Western, played in the CFL. Now he's on the Chiefs.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the defensive backs, and Dandridge is a guy probably on the outside looking in, but this is his opportunity to impress. He made a really good play, a pass breakup this week during training camp. Chiefs social media put it up there too.
Last couple weeks he's been.
Yeah.
I think he's been playing pretty well. To me, I think he's making his case as to why he should be on this team.
And they only carry so many defensive backs, but this is also a chance for him to maybe get that practice squad invite, just kind of get there, get closer, because it's a hard to go from 85 to 53. I mean, you're cutting. It used to be a little bit more staggered. Now it's 85.
With three preseason games, you kind of have to make those cuts a little bit bigger, but I don't know. Like you were saying, I think he's doing what he can.
Yeah, it's a really tough secondary to be in. A lot of young guys.
A lot of young guys.
But we're telling you, this is a chance to watch Dandridge this week. Missouri Western, former standout for them, terrific football player. Keep an eye on him. Final thought from you?
I'm just excited to see how those guys do. I want to see Dandridge out there, and I want to see him secure that roster spot.
Chiefs and Commanders coming up next. Thank you for joining us. Chris Roush, Mitchell Ribberall. We'll see you next week for the third and final preseason show when the Chiefs take on the Packers.
Great to be back at Missouri Western State University. Just very, very excited to get things going.
If you're not motivated by not being the top of anything, I think you're not in the right professions. I obviously want to be at the top of the list. I want the Chiefs to be at the top of the rankings.
There's some new players on the team, which makes it exciting. It's not that same group that's been here probably the last 3-4 years. There's been a nice influx of really good football players that we look forward to seeing as things heat up here.
I know Coach Reed and his staff are delighted to be back here. They think the environment is great here in terms of what they need to get done over the next 3.5 weeks.